So this is Venkatachalapathi, Professor, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So I would like to discuss about types of casting process. Apart from the manufacturing process, I would like to discuss about what are the various types of casting process in the first unit. So let us see, as you know that manufacturing, it is the conversion of raw material into a finished product in a subsequent process. Such a case, the manufacturing is the production of goods for use or sale using labor and machines, tools, chemical and biological processing or formulation. So, in general, every student you should know about the term manufacturing and production. Two terms are there. The both are, it is a similar except the change of some application. So in some US based they can call it as a manufacturing, some Germany based they can call it as a production technology. So the only difference is depending upon the application it can maybe differ. So as you know that manufacturing can be defined as it is the process of converting raw material into a finished product in the subsequent process. As in the case of production means producing of components. So a simple example, the difference between a manufacturing and production means manufacturing means if there will be a raw material and finally you can transform into a finished product, whereas production means it is not all similar to manufacturing. The producing of cast iron, producing of crab, producing baby. So this is what, but not a manufacturing a baby, manufacturing a crop. So that is the basic difference between a production and manufacturing. So apart from that, how you can able to produce the finished goods which is used for the manufacturing and some of the complex products to be manufactured such as various application, automobile, aeronautical and household appliances, etc. So today I would like to discuss about what are the various types of manufacturing process. The first and foremost thing is, as you know that casting process, it is a traditional process which you have discussed earlier, the basic concept of and casting and what are the flow diagram, the flow of all the components starting with a pattern to a final component. And the second foremost manufacturing process is molding. Molding in the sense how either it may be compression molding or how the mold can be used by pouring some material, and this molding can be either it is a casting process, some other times it may comes under the some compression molding type also. And another important process is forming. So forming process is nothing but exactly the amount of raw material will be negligible. Whatever the amount of raw material can be used, the same amount of raw material can be, final output can be achieved. But whereas in the casting process, the raw material may have rejections. Input, suppose you can give the more number of component material and finally you can't produce the same amount of, but in forming, metal forming process, the negligible amount of wastage, 100% of metal can be utilized. That is why it is a forming, metal forming process. And whereas machining process in the sense, finally you can complete the component, some finishing can be done, removing of unwanted material, some material removal, this comes under the machining such as lathe, milling, drilling, etc. And the fifth one is a joining. So joining is, it is a secondary process, whereas the casting, molding, forming, these are all primary process. Joining means it is the combination of two similar or dissimilar metals by application of filler or without application of without adding the filler, by application of pressure and heat without application of pressure and heat. That is the general definition of a metal joining process. That is a secondary process. Once you have to obtain the components, they can use the metal joining. Still a lot of research is going on in this metal joining process. The joining, it has been started in the Second World War itself. Lot of destruction in the various industries and various houses, and so many disturbances occur during World War II. So from that day onwards, the joining has been introduced. Still, it is so many type of joining, arc welding and gas welding, and so many advanced up to laser and electron beam weldings, and that advanced weldings also has been introduced. Still, the research is going on in the metal joining process. We can discuss in detail in the next coming classes and all. But today, I would like to discuss about the major casting and casting types. What is casting and casting types? So there are number of casting methods are there. So as I have discussed it clearly, the casting starting with a pattern design, and hand molding, machine molding, pouring the molten metal, and preparation of the mold cavities, and giving the solidification time, and shot blasting, removing of extra runner, riser, ingate, and finally you will get the finished component. Okay, and in that, what are the various types of casting process? That is what sand casting and investment casting and pressure die casting. So many type of investment casting, and what you call the centrifugal casting and continuous casting. Number of types is there as per our manufacturing process. In the first unit, casting types, some basic important type of castings process we'll discuss. Okay, let us see the first the important type of casting is sand casting. Before going to discuss about the sand casting process, let us recap of the casting. As you know that casting is a manufacturing process. It is a traditional process by which the liquid material, that is molten metal, which is usually poured into the mold cavity and giving a some solidification time. That mold cavity is the replica of the pattern. Okay, replica of the original casting. By pouring and giving the solidification time, the final part can be produced in the casting process. Okay, so this is what in the casting, most probably there are variety of materials also can be used. That is what ferrous, non-ferrous, ceramic, etc. And whenever you can use the depending upon the application, you are going to be select the different type of casting materials. And one of the most important thing is casting is most often used for making a complex shapes. This is another important term, complex shape. So for example, any complicated shape like engine components and some internal, so many complicated variety of shapes should be able to produce. Manually it is difficult to do, where you are going to be do some pattern shape with the effectively the same amount of shape can be reproduced in the metal casting process. Even though it is very difficult or uneconomical to make the other products, but only thing is when you wanted to produce the some number of components, we can no other way to use the metal casting process. Okay, so still the manufacturing industries, they're using a metal casting process depending upon the usage and the requirement of the industry. And let us say the casting process can be divided into two basic categories. Yes or no? The first and foremost thing is those for which a new mold must be created for casting. This is what expandable mold process. So wherever when you wanted to have a new mold, that is a complicated mold to be created for doing some casting. And second important thing is those that employ a permanent reusable mold. That is what the non-expandable mold process. So these are the two basic categories which you have to use the types of metal casting process. Apart from this, you can see these are the types of casting process. These are some of the basic important types of the casting. The first one is the sand casting process. and second one is die casting, and third important thing is shell mold casting, and fourth one is permanent mold casting, and fifth one is investment or lost wax casting. This is a very important type of technique where some of the idols and some shapes, teeny some components can be able to do the lost wax casting, and some lost to foam castings, and finally centrifugal casting. Still some more castings also is there, some continuous casting, okay, continuous castings, and some pressure die casting, etc. will be there. But in this session, I would like to discuss about clearly what is sand casting, and another important casting is investment casting. These two castings are most widely used in industry, even in the present day also, and how the process can be described with the help of a clear diagram. Let us discuss in a step-by-step procedure. Look at now, you can clearly understand a general flow diagram of the casting. So in this layout, you can clearly understand the what is the raw material. This is what here the raw material into the final finished component in this. It will goes to shipping. So a layman also can be understand clearly the process of metal casting process. Here you can simply understand that there are four major important sections. The first and foremost important section is here the preparation of the molten metal by using coal, and some of the unused castings, and some of the composites of the some percentage of chemicals like phosphorus, silica, depending upon the improving of the metals and all. And the molten metal can be prepared with the help of the induction furnace, and some electrical furnace and cupola furnace. Depending upon the quantity required, we can use the which type of furnace is suitable. Suppose if you wanted to produce a limited amount of molten metal, we may use this induction furnace. And suppose when you wanted to increase some more amount, we can use the electrical furnace. And suppose still if one shift completely, they can put the series of mold cavities. There are almost all you need tons of molten metal. There obviously can able to use the cupola furnace. Cupola furnace. This is the one context. And another important thing is here we are supposed to produce this pattern. Okay, look at how the pattern can be prepared with the help of the sand preparation. Here you can see how the sand preparation can be done by hand molding or machine molding. These are jolt squeeze machining techniques. Jolt squeeze, because uniform ramming can be done in order to remove the casting defects and all. So this is a one section where you can able to prepare the series of molten mold cavities. Series of mold cavities after doing this. So here sand also it will become automatically by using the cranes, etc. Automated transportation equipment such as this some of the crane based and some truck based can be obtained, and this sand also will be kept from the top to bottom in automatically. And here they can prepare the mold cavities. You can see 1 2 3 4. So 4 they are pouring the molten metal. So where one section is preparing the mold cavity by using the sand material with the hand or machine molding techniques. And here whenever you wanted to have some halo shapes. So for example, if the component like this, you need to produce some halo portion. Obviously, to produce the halo portion, you can suppose to have some core introduction will be done in this making a halo portion. This is what another core preparation, core sand preparation, how they can prepare the core sandal for halo portion. And this is also sand cores can be prepared where you need to require some halo shapes in a particular component. So this is one type of using for core making technique. And apart from that, once you have to sand preparation is over and core preparation is over, then they can use the preparation of the mold cavities. There is a series of mold cavities prepared either manual or machine molding techniques. So before start the pouring, the 2 hours before they can do for molten metal preparation. So suppose you have to pour the molten metal at 11 o'clock, means you should be able to start the at 9 o'clock itself by getting the molten metal is ready. So before that 2 hours you can prepare the mold cavities in series. How much amount of molten metal is poured into the mold cavities and all, you can prepare series, and so that once it is ready, in the 2 hours they can prepare the number of mold cavities. Once it has been molten metal is ready, they will brought to the with the help of the ladder. This is called the ladder. Huh? Okay. Through ladder you can pour the molten metal. Some experienced labor, because it is in a red hotted conditions, the temperature automatically more than 1400 degrees centigrade. So some experienced people only can able to handle the molten metal. Otherwise, even one chip, one drop of metal also will come out to have a disturbance, and precautions, high precautions to be taken into the transferring the molten metal from the furnace to the this mold cavity section. Okay, so that is what here also you can able to understand clearly, and how the mold uh, pouring the molten metal in a stipulated time. That is what pouring time can be calculated by using some screw runner in gate design. That is what gating system. The gating system may be two types. One is a pressurized system and another one is unpressurized system. Depending upon our application, we can able to use which type of system can be used. Okay, so once you have to complete the metal pouring, we should give proper solidification time, cooling time. Once it has been completed, then it will enter to the casting shakeout or short blasting process. We can call it as short blasting process or casting shakeout. In this process, removing of runner, riser, ingate, it will come out, and then next it will enter into the cooling and cleaning section. So any extra parts and all, they will be cleaned, and then enter into the finishing and painting sections. So once it will enter to the finishing and painting section, the total component is ready and inspection has been done, and it will goes through the shipping through the vehicles, through the containers. All the complex shaped casted products can be transported through the some vehicles. Okay, so that's what either shipping or trucks, whatever the mode of transportation is used, you can able to use. If suppose if you use 50,000 number of components, you can use the some trucks. If it is a limited, means you can use the small trucks, and some shipping also can be done. That's why whenever when you wanted to ship for the import and export thing, final components, obviously you can keep the foundry industry in the nearby seashore, etc. Okay, so that the transformation of the finished product easily shipped to the that ship or any other transporting devices. So this complete combination of the all the molten metal preparation and mold cavity preparation and sand preparation and core making preparation, and how the molten metal with the help of the reused casting and coal, coke, etc. And finally pouring the molten metal in a exact the pouring time with the applying the designing of screw runner in gate, and then you can get the short blasting, removing of runner and riser, then cooling, cleaning, and finishing and painting, and totally it will goes to the dispatch section, and finally the customer can take out this component. This is the complete flow diagram of the any type of metal casting process. But only thing is you need to understand clearly how many number of components and what is the shape of the component, what is the size of the component, what are the number of components to be produced. These things should be kept in consider for selection of all those things based on the quantity and the quality and the usage of application. we can divide into a number of uh, types of casting like sand casting, die casting, shell molding casting, permanent mold casting, investment or lost wax casting technique, and lost to foam casting and centrifugal castings. These are the major important casting. Even the centrifugal casting, every day you are seeing some spun pipe, drainage purpose, and some manholes and all made up of this spun pipe casting. Even the tubes, that is very tube, the Telangana project from Chennai to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, how the water will be circulated to the that spun pipes and all by using of centrifugal casting. The main principle involved in the centrifugal casting is the centrifugal force will be acted on that. There is no mold in the centrifugal casting. Only pouring the molten metal, rotation of the that centrifugal force, rotation of the speed, and it will extract the raw material, and that will give, if more speed occur, thickness will be less. If the less speed occur, thickness will be more. This is a due to centrifugal force principle can be obtained for the centrifugal casting. Okay, so now let us discuss about the one most important casting is sand casting process. It is the first and foremost important sand casting process. This is also called the sand molded casting. Why it is called sand molded casting? First of all, you can prepare the sand with the help of the silica and water, clay, bentonite, etc. All the material will be mixed properly, either manpower, or sometimes you can use the ramming with the machine also. And this material will be used properly by applying the various sand properties such as permeability, flowability, refractability, okay, and compressive strength. All these things to be considered and preparation of the sand preparation. And once you can prepare the sand, you can use the some different type of mold making in the sense that how you can prepare the hollow particle. That once the mold making is done, then you can ready to pour the molten metal during the series of the mold making, etc. So this is also called, we can use the specialized factories, we can call it as foundry. This is what the complete process, the four section. One section is where you can prepare the pattern series of the mold cavities, and one side you can do the this molten metal preparation, one time core and pouring the molten metal, and finally dispatch section including casting, shakeout, and cleaning and painting, etc. These are the four major sections is involved in the any type of metal casting process. And apart from this, sand casting, which is also called, it is a cheap and it is very sufficiently refractory even for the steel foundry use also. So wherever in the sand casting process, what I am clearly explained that this mixing, so whatever this mixture is moisturized with the help of the water, and sometimes we can use the substances in order to improve the strength and the plasticity of the clay to have a some suitable for molding properly, so that the rejection can be minimized and reduced. So there are type of boxes to be used, drag box and co box. If it is a single piece or two piece pattern, if it is a three piece pattern, you can add for some other box, you can call it as a cheek box. If it is a three piece pattern where we are using three boxes, the first box we can call it as a drag box, second box co-box, in between cheek box. So where three boxes can be used for the three-piece pattern, where you can able to perform the mold cavities by using three boxes. Okay, and apart from that, let us see for this sand casting process, the six major important steps involved in this process. So this is what already I have explained clearly about the preparation of the raw material into a finished product of the casting. So these six plays an important role for this sand casting process. Look at the first and foremost thing is the pattern. Place a pattern in sand to create a mold. look at, place a pattern in a sand to create a mold. So that means, as already discussed about, pattern can be defined as it is the replica of the original casting. Once the pattern can be prepared, we can keep it patterned into the mold cavity, and exact shape can be created with the help of the sand. The sand may consisting of silica, moisture, and clay, bentonite, etc. And the second important step is incorporate the pattern. That is, incorporate the pattern and sand in a gating system. This is what I have been explaining. Gating system. What is gating system? So, gating system in the sense there will be a sprue and runner and in gate, and where you can able to pour the mold. So, where this is called sprue and this is runner. This is called in-gate. So these are the three basic important types in any gating system. The designing of gating system also very important. So there are two type of gating system. One is unpressurized system. Unpressurized system. That is 1:2:2. So unpressurized system means you can see the first SRI, you can simply call it as a SRI, sprue, runner, in-gate. Always in-gate area is more than the sprue area. Suppose this is what the unpressurized system, whereas in the pressurized system, 1:2:1 or 0.5. So here also sprue, runner, in-gate, where in-gate is less than the sprue area. So this is the basic difference between the unpressurized system and pressurized system. In the competitive examinations like GATE and some IAS examination, they will ask what is the unpressurized system ratio, what is the pressurized system ratio with the help of sprue, runner, in-gate. They will change this. Always in-gate area is more than the sprue, we can call it as an unpressurized system. And here in-gate area is less than the sprue, we can call it as a pressurized system. So in this second point, you should take care about the how to design the gating system to free flow of the molten metal through sprue, runner, in-gate. If you are not effectively designing the gating system, there is a chance of unfilling of molten metal effectively, or there will be overflow of the molten metal. This leads to a lot of damage and some drawbacks will be occur. And the third important point is remove the pattern. So once after pouring the molten metal, so then you can remove by giving the solidification time or cooling time, how to remove the pattern with the help of some short blasting machines under. So once you have to remove the pattern, then fill the mold cavity with the molten metal. This is what the first important. First you have to make a mold cavity by using pattern. After mold cavity has been formed, the pattern can be removed. Then you can fill the mold cavity, that is a hollow shape, by pouring the molten metal. This molten metal can be prepared with the help of the any different type of furnace like induction furnace or electrical furnace or cupola furnace, depending upon the amount of molten metal is required for the series of the mold cavities. Yes or no? So another important point is allow the metal to cool or allow the metal to solidify. So all metals will shrink except bismuth. So like that, wherever they are using ferrous or non-ferrous metals and some amount of chemicals added to this, it may be shrink. We should give this some solidification time so that inside the crystals and all can made effectively have some sound casting can be occur. If you are not providing the cooling time or solidification time, it leads to be lot of defects may be occur in the metal casting process. And final point, final step. So This is a break away the sand mold and remove the casting. So this is what once after completion of the solidification, then automatically can remove the sand mold and putting into the short blasting machine, removing some unwanted materials like sprue, runner, ingate can be easily removed, and finally you can able to have a sound casting get after putting some inspection and some finishing and painting techniques. So these are the basic steps for any casting process. In our the sand casting also, these are the most important steps where you can able to perform. So this is what in this diagram also you can clearly understand the sand casting process starting to end. This is what raw material to how you will get the finished product. The raw material to how we will get the finished product. So these steps can be discussed with the help of the sand casting process. Now in this diagram, even a layman can understand clearly how they can prepare the mold cavity with the help of the pattern and where the different type of boxes. It is a single piece pattern or two piece pattern. It is a two piece pattern. So in this two piece pattern, you can clearly understand how you can prepare the mold cavity for a two piece pattern. So let us see the first and foremost thing is you can prepare the one half of the pattern. So look at this, the first half of the pattern you can keep it in the that is a drag box. We can also call it as a flask. Flask is placed over the first pattern. Yes or no? Then you can tilt it. So you can tilt it and you can fill the that sand. So one half of the mold. Okay, one set is a drag box and another set is a cope box. The cope box, drag box will be kept in a bottom, cope box will be kept in the top. Yes or no? So that the shape. So when you wanted to here, you can see cope box. The shape we can able to get like this. If you put reverse, it may come bottom to up, up to bottom. So it is difficult to get the shape of the component. So you need to understand clearly the first half of the pattern where we can kept. We can kept in the cope box and the second half we can kept in the drag box, and here we can fix drag box and cope box. The bottom one is a drag box and top one is a cope box. And now you can parallelly you can prepare the molten metal in the either electrical furnace or induction furnace or cupola furnace. You can pour the molten metal. You can see in this red color sprue, runner and ingate and complete filling. Exactly you need to calculate the pouring time. So pouring time, how to pour the molten metal, exactly how much time it will take to fill the mold cavity. So if you calculate, it may comes 30 or 40 or 50 seconds, etc. Less than a minute also, depending upon the amount of the material, because it is a red hotted condition. When you pour the molten metal, exact time, whatever the calculation of the pouring time, you need to calculate exact 58 seconds means only in the 58 seconds, 1 or 2 seconds it may vary. If it is exceed more 10 seconds also, the molten metal will overflow or molten metal will short, incomplete will come. So after completion of the molten metal pouring, then giving some solidification time and solidified casting, removing the all the sand and all, and finally this is a final shape of the component. So this is what solidified casting, and by adding some finishing and some painting, it will transfer to the some customer. Okay, so this same principle will be applicable to any complicated shape like automobiles and aeronautical and some different type of applications also can be used in the sand casting process. I hope in this a brief idea about the sand casting technique, and I would like to discuss another important process which you can name as investment casting. The investment casting, so especially this is also called the lost wax casting method. So why you can call as lost wax means the wax can be some wastage will occur. Okay, so whenever you can use in the Ganesh idols where you can use the wax, in the same principle also here you can apply it. Some toy shapes. This process traditionally 5,000 years ago it has been introduced, some beeswax formed in the pattern, and today's high technology the waxes, refractive materials and specialized alloys also can be used for this making of the investment casting. So especially in this production of components within the high accuracy and some repeatability, versatility, integrity, and also variety of metals in high performance alloys most widely used in the investment casting. So in this process generally you can use it for a small teeny shaped castings also can be used, where this steel casting the weight approximately 300 kg, or pounds 660 pounds, or aluminum castings is up to 30 kgs, which is converted into 66 pounds. So that is why it is a more expensive per unit than die casting process. The name itself, investment casting, you can put some cost, because it is a, if you use the steel casting the weight can be more, and non-ferrous metals aluminum can be used only 30 kgs, but the complex shapes can be made either pattern and this thing little bit high. So sometimes if it is a cost of the mold will be high, obviously you need to have take a for rent purpose, like we need to produce some 50,000 components, you take for that we will use for 50,000 components for your mold. They will export also that mold also, because the quality molds when you wanted to prepare it will lead to be high amount, high cost. So in order to reduce the quality mold and all, automatically more number of components can be produced in order to reduce the component cost. So this is what about the investment casting. So it requires little surface finish and only minor machining. So once you have to use the investment casting, there is a negligible finishing. So especially in the sand casting process, again you should use for machining techniques like grinding, and surface finishing techniques also can be used to remove some extra materials. But whereas investment casting, almost all it is a mirror-like finish can be occur. Any minor one or two cracks etc. that can be removed by some extra surface finish techniques, where you can use the limited amount of time. And coming to this investment casting also, there are a series of 9 steps will be used to get a final component. The first one is, first you should supposed to produce a master pattern. So the master pattern is the where there you can apply multiple allowances. For example, a pattern having applying the shrinkage allowance. After applying the shrinkage allowance, again you can add the some more material allowance. So that we can call it as a master pattern. So for example, where you can use the multi variety of materials for the using of this technique. So 2 times allowances can be provided, that is called the masterpiece pattern. And first you should supposed to produce by applying the allowances, 2 time apply allowances, the master pattern can be able to produce. Once you have to preparation of the master pattern is over, then mold making. So how you can prepare the cavity with the same master pattern, you can keep by putting all the sand and all, and finally you can remove that pattern, you will get this mold making. Then you should produce wax patterns, where how you can assemble the wax patterns in that, and what are the investment can be used to de-wax. De-wax means some effective amount of the wax can be provided. And burnout and preheating, these are the very important terminology. Before going to burnout, initially preheating can be done, so that there is a minimum amount of wastage can be occur. Then pouring the molten metal, and finally removal. So these are the 9 steps involved in the making of the casting by using investment casting. Let us see step by step. This is how to produce a master pattern. Look at how quality pattern itself, it is just like in a mirror-like surface finish, where an artist or mold maker creates a original pattern, exactly how the similarity can able to produce in the investment casting. So from the materials like wax, clay, wood, plastic, steel and other material. So any 2 or 3 materials combined together. That's why here you can able to use the master pattern. 2 metals means one metal shrinkage allowance is different from the other metal, so that you need to apply the 2 shrinkage allowances in the pattern in order to have the good quality of the casted product. And how you are preparing the mold making. So in this investment casting process, a mold which is also called the master die. So the master die preparation is very, very important. This is what it is made up of, a master pattern, and this pattern may be made from the low melting point metal in steel or wood. So if a steel pattern was created, then low melting point metal may be cast directly from the master pattern. So even some cases, some rubber molds also can be used directly from the master pattern. The first step may also be skipped if the master die is machined directly into the steel. So the second step also, mold making, is completed. Then how you can able to produce the wax pattern. So in general, a wax pattern means the pattern materials also include the plastic and forged mercury. Yes or no? The wax patterns may be produced in one of the 2. What is that? One of the 2 ways. The first process, the wax is poured into the mold and swished around until an uneven coating can be occurred. It will take about 3 mm thickness. Okay, the inner surface of the mold. Okay, and this is repeated until to reach the perfect thickness, desired shape of the thickness. This method, mostly it is somewhat difficult to control the overall thickness of the wax layer. So that is why in investment casting, producing the wax pattern is little bit skill is required. The effect is skilled person needed to prepare the wax patterns. Once you have to prepare the wax pattern, the only thing is assemble the wax pattern. So how you will assemble? The wax pattern is then removed from the mold, and depending upon the application of multiple wax patterns. So for example, any investment casting, just like it is a tree form. Isn't it? So like this, in investment, some toy shape, complicated shape of the pattern also, you need to produce the wax patterns and separately and assemble it. Isn't the assembling like a tree shape, as many several hundred of patterns may be assembled in like a tree. In the tree, any tree, there will be branches like that. Here also the wax pattern can be assembled just like a tree, and exactly the wax patterns are attached to the sprue or each other by means of a heated metal tool. Okay, and this is why means any other imperfections are addressed so that the wax now looks like a finished piece. So this is what how the assembling of various wax patterns in some branches in a tree. Okay, and coming to this investment, the term investment can be defined as it is produced by 3 repeated steps. What are the 3 repeated steps? The first step is coating, second step is stockifying, and third is hardening. So these are the 3 basic steps involved in investment. Okay, for any investment process, you need to produce 3 repeated steps called coating. The first step involves in dipping the cluster into a slurry of the fine refractory material. Yes or no? So whenever you can able to use cluster into a slurry of the fine refractory material, letting and excess drain off. Okay, and another important, the second step is the cluster of structured with the coarse ceramic particle by dipping into a a fluidized bed, placing it a rainfall sander. And this is what applying, how we can able to apply the hand. Sometimes we can able to hand also, that wax will be shaped into whatever the requirement. And finally, the coating is allowed to harden. Simple coating, stroking and hardening. So whenever the hardening, these three steps are repeated until the investment is required thickness, which is usually the 5 to 15 mm thickness. 5 to 15 mm thickness. This is what about the investment used in the investment casting. And another important term, we can call it as a burnout and preheating. So in this case, you can clearly understand whenever why you are required preheating, what is the importance of burnout. The mold is then subjected to a burnout which heats the mold between 870 degrees and 1095 degrees centigrade. So this is very important. So in order to use the 870 or 1095 degrees centigrade to remove any moisture or residual waxes and to sinter the mold. So sintering also preheating can be done so that you can easily produce the better mold. Okay. Sometimes this heating is also used as a preheating purpose. Okay. So if any cracks followed, they can be repaired, and the ceramic slurry or special cements also can be used. Cements. Okay. And this is what the mold is preheated and allow the metal to stay liquid longer to fill any details and to increase the dimensional accuracy. Especially this burnout and preheating can be used for to achieve a good dimensional accuracy. Exactly dimensional accuracy. For example, a spark plug is there. In the spark plug, exact dimension will be there. Then only it can able to fit the two-wheeler. Even if one amount of 0.05 difference will be there, it can able to fit the any vehicle. That is why the dimensional accuracy is required. You need to understand the term preheating and burnout. Because the mold and casting cool together, obviously this process prefers the good dimensional accuracy. And once it has been completed, the important step is pouring. How the investment mold is then placed cup upwards into the tub filled with the sand. The metal may be gravity poured, but if there is thin sections of the mold, it may be filled by applying positive air. So especially a pressure vacuum cast and tilt cast in a pressurized assisting pour, so that the centrifugal casting, how you can prepare the centrifugal casting, there is no mold, you can put it on the mold rotating, it will extract due to centrifugal force. Either that method or pressure assisted pouring can be done in this investment casting. So once it has been completed, the next step is in removal. How the shell is hammered, media blasted, vibrated, water jetted, chemically dissolved to release the casting. These all the techniques can be used to removal of the this casting, that is media blast, vibrated, water jet, hammered and chemically dissolved. All these can be used for removing of the casting. Okay. And a sprue is cut off and recycled, and the casting may be then be cleaned up to remove the signs of the casting process. This is what some grinding process also can be used for. Some extra unwanted material also can be removed and to have some finish. And this is the what component of turbocharger rotor. So this investment casting technique can be used the preparation of the turbocharger rotor, how we can able to produce. And similarly, this is the completed workpiece. Initially it was like that. After the component is like complicated, you see the blades which in a some angle shape. This is what the final component will be. Got it in the rotor turbine blade, rotor charger rotors. And coming to the advantages, limitations and applications of the investment castings. As you know that the first and foremost thing is dimensional accuracy is very good in this investment casting. Yes or no? And very smooth surfaces, just mirror-like surface finish can be obtained with no parting line. Either it is a branch tree, there is no part. If the two molds are can be used, two boxes, one parting line will be there. Here there is no such parting line. almost all the component which is a finished shape, very smooth surface can be obtained, and certain unmissionable parts can be cast pre-planned shape also. Okay, even this is what the product is, how curve is shaped, how we can get exact mirror-like surface finish even inside this halo portions also. This is what about the advantages. Coming to the, for any process there will be some little bit disadvantages also will be there. This is a very expensive process, which I already told. It is an expensive process. Mold preparation also, a lot of wax patterns can be prepared and assembled, and for doing so much, a lot of work, some difficulties where the cores can be involved, some halo portion and all difficult cores can be kept effectively. Okay, and some deepers diameter and some very holes cannot be done in this investment casting. Only 1.6 smaller than 1.6 mm or 1 by 16th inch cannot be, it cannot be smaller than 1 by 16th inch or 1.5 mm, and at the same time should be no deeper than about 1.5 times of the diameter. Okay, so this is the disadvantage of investment casting. Investment can require very long production cycle. Per shift they can able to produce thousand and thousand number of components. And investment castings, this process practically infeasible for high volume manufacturing. Obviously, when we wanted to use mass production, this process not, because here dimensional accuracy required, so many wax patterns should be prepared, and time and cost also will be more due to preparation of the wax patterns and all. And coming to this application, the majorly investment casting which is used in aerospace and power generation industries in order to produce turbine blades with the complex shapes. Any complex shapes in this, the major application like aerospace, in the wings there will be a large turbo blades will be there. The flow of air will be flows through in a proper manner, so that the application of the aircraft will be effectively used. So that is why many components in the aerospace application we can prefer this investment casting, because dimensional accuracy is good and little bit costly also. They can able to produce a number of components in aircraft wherever required. We can able to use this investment castings. I hope students can understand the basic two important type of casting. One is the sand casting and another one is the investment casting. In the next class, we will discuss about the next important aspect of the metal casting process. Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.